Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is May 28th, and we've got a quick episode today that's going to cover some latest tokenomics news. We're going to be talking about some technical analysis for ETH and RPL from our very own Moon, and we're going to be talking about Diva and how they are getting closer to audits and getting ready to launch. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So the place to start is here with a tokenomics update. And, it's been a while since we've had one of these updates. The members of the community who are working on this have been quietly plugging away at creating a digestible and presentable document for people to read and get the information in a really concise and informative way. Also, there's some tweaks going on with some different ideas that are still being worked on. So here there's an update from Val. This is from a couple of days ago where he says the current status. So they want to create a mainstream doc. So there's some drafting happening with Samus is working on the UARS section and listening to the market. Then there's a document to put it all together that is produced as well. And Jasper and Long for Wisdom just responded, accepted everything that they had with their suggestions. Then there's stuff about RPL value capture, there's RPL value perspectives, and then there's other stuff as well about bonds and capital efficiency and other items. Then when it comes to RPIP technical review, people like Yoakum have been giving feedback on RPIP 43, and there's little consistency work on recording money owed, i.e. we could record validator fund shortfalls the same way as MEV theft penalties, or is there a reason to separate this? And then there's stuff about bonds as well, and the APIs, the RPIPs that haven't been reviewed yet. That's RPIP 42, 46, and 47. So in this thread, we can see that, Epinef's involved, Long for Wisdom's involved, Samus is involved, Val is involved, Ramana stops by to ask questions, and other people like Yoakum as well. But there's still some work going on getting the presented information in the best possible way of what the different charts should look like. Like here, what your rewards would look like with a 1.5 ETH bond, with a 4 ETH bond, 8 ETH bond, 16 ETH bond, etc. And kind of working out how to present this information to a wider audience. So, a whole bunch of people are working on this, Val and Samus mostly, but there's a lot of questions back and forth about the best way to present this information. When it comes to the putting it together document, here, you can choose your depth. There's 3 tiers, and the top tier is just for quick understanding of what's going on. The second tier is going into the more detailed aspects of the tokenomics, and then the third tier is a guided tour of the RPIPs. So here, the top tier has things like, why do we need tokenomics rework? Now, this is not in the final state. There's still work being done on this. You can see this is a sausage factory with edits happening in real time, and it's really cool. So they're talking about node operator ETH and how it's stalled and reversing. And then explain the current idealized concept of what it should look like, what it looks like basically right now, but what issues it's had in reality, and how it's not anywhere close to its the ideal way of doing it because people just aren't topping up. And then there's the current proposal and the information about that. So this isn't, of course, in its final form. You can understand that there's still work being done on this, but the reason why I'm highlighting this for you all is just to let you all know that there is still a lot of work happening with tokenomics, and if you are interested in taking part in some of this, feel free to come by. Here we had a comment from Ramana asking how's the best way for me to give feedback, and let me see if I can find it here. Sorry. Ramana said, what's the current instruction? or source of instructions to apply technical review and editing to new tokenomics specifications, e.g. do I use issues or Discord threads or pull requests, and on GitHub what branch or issues do I track and try to merge into, and then Long for Wisdom created a document with some ideas. Let me see if I can find it. Replying to Ramana, saying that the way to do it is basically like follow these ideas. So if you are interested in, here it is, seeing the same questions crop up, I made this to try to resolve it. How do you feel this is useful answer to how do I feedback on the RPIP specs? And then there's a document as well saying any comments on the template are welcome. Absent anyone raising issues with that, I'll add it to the pin and maybe post it on the forum as an update. So if that is something that you want to do, then definitely go ahead and do that. Okay, so yesterday I popped into Moon's Elliott Wave thread, which is like, where people in the Rocket Pool Discord go and talk about trading, not in actual trading. That's why we talk about everything except trading. So Moon used to post these technical analysis that he drew every day, or most days even, and he kind of like fell off a little bit for a while. So I was like, did you stop posting the Moon, or did you just post less regularly? And he replied by saying, I do, but there hasn't been much going on, so I spare you guys the walls of text. He said, I've been doing 1 or 2 per week lately because ETH wasn't doing shit, and most people seem to have moved away from short-term trading and are focused more on the next all-time high. He says, I also feel like I bore people with the same shit every day in this type of sideways movement. So I said, I like the same shit. But he said the bottom line for ETH is that nothing has changed in the big picture. We're heading towards an all-time high and should see a break this year. He says 8,000 to 12,000 is still the ultimate target, but we may not see that until next year. And he actually went and said on that there might be another wave after that, so it could potentially even go higher. But I think that's where Moon is going to be doing most of his trading. And then Kev asked, what's the next bottom? And he said somewhere in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, kind of where we are right now. So that's pretty cool. But he says maybe as high as 5,000, which would be fantastic. So I said, what about RPL since it broke down the ratio? So Moon was saying, I had been saying for a while, that if we go down the previous low, from summer 2022, which was 0.0076, if we went below that and stayed below that, then that would be a bad sign for Rocket Pool. Of course, we have gone down for the RPL token. Of course, we have gone down below that, and we've kind of stayed there for a little while at least. So he says, from a purely technical analysis perspective, so this is without any fundamentals or tokenomics changes. He says RPL looks quite bad right now, and it will likely be this low for a while. He says it's likely to take a fundamental change to get the token back above 0.01 based on the current chart. It says, do with that as you will. As you know, TA is not an exact science and can be wrong. It also doesn't account for catalysts. The waves just keep on flowing regardless of what happens. And I said, it's a good job we've got one of those fundamental changes coming up. Of course, the tokenomics rework that we just discussed. And I said to Moon, do you have any ideas on where the bottom might be? He says, that's really hard to say since we lost the 88.7% fib. Maybe in the 0.002 to 0.005 range. A lot of assets don't recover or take years to recover from breaking the 88.7% fib at cycle level. Usually assigned to move on unless your time horizon is far out. That said, I still believe in the protocol, but I need to see some changes for me to continue to have faith in RPL. I'm at break even on RPL USD, but way below my aggregate RPL ETH ratio, and I don't like it. So I think that's the case for many of us. In fact, the vast majority of us are, maybe up a little bit or down a little bit or about the same against USD, but against ETH, I think the majority of us are down. I actually worked out how far down I am, and it was not. Yesterday, I worked that out. It wasn't fun. And Ramana here says, I lost so much ETH to RPL so far. I'm not really come to terms with the pain. I barely had a look. So we were talking about RPL and what might happen. And what happened then is Moon actually did an update at the end of the day. So he says, all right, guys, let's talk. He says, bulls, bears, and everyone in between, take heed. Look at this chart. It says ETH is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing right now with the rocket of a reversal near the 200-day simple moving average earlier in the month. Guess what? The weekly just printed a bullish cross on the MACD. That means we're likely in for some fun in the next couple of months. Nothing is for sure, but I'll tell you that it's looking damn good right now. With this behavior plus the ETH BTC ratio moving steadily upward, ETH has a bright future ahead of it in 2024. So what are we looking at now? 4,103 is our next upside target. Once that's taken out, it's on to 4,291. So he said, what about traders? You can trade these moves, but have good stops in place because we're far above major support right now. I'll hold off until we see how this wave plays out. It could be the starting or ending an orange wave of 4. Either way, we'll head back up soonish. Don't get caught out in the wrong direction. He says 8 out of 10 would avoid now. And then he says for RPL, he says we had a long talk about RPL, put all that aside for now and let's look at the big picture. This is what I'm about to show you has nothing to do with fundamentals, but you know that TA doesn't lie, right? And he's laughing. He says we talked about how we dropped below the cycle 88.7% fib at 0.076 and that most assets don't come back from that, or if they take a long time. He says, well, what other signs do we have? This is the one I'm liking right now is this weekly MACD, which is setting up for a bullish cross if this next week closes green. This isn't going to make things change overnight, but it does point towards some strong movements in the next few months. This is what is success in the near term. If we get above the 200-day SMA at 0.0105 and see some successful retests before we get too excited. So this is the chart that he's looking at. So it's RPL versus ETH, and he's showing that here on the MACD at the bottom. It looks like it's going to turn green this week basically, and he says that because of that, you know, we should have a few good months ahead. But this is where we're at, and then let's actually move on from there now. So finally today we're going to be talking about Diva, and Noshua has this update screenshot from the Diva Discord. This is from Prada, who's now, you know, Diva network, a Nektar network. So they're saying audits have started in April and are still ongoing. 1.5 months is not 4 months, not even close. This is with audits for the Golang client and the contracts. The project is not just a fork around a DeFi protocol. It takes time. Everything was written from scratch. In the word of some of our auditors, the complexity of these contracts is taking to another level. Don't expect the orders to be rushed or quick. The next week we should have the final report of the contracts, and in 1 to 2 weeks, the ones of one of the clients. However, audits find things, and we cannot predict the level of work that will take us to perform the fixes. It is what it is. So here, Miko then gives an update. Who's Pablo? He says, as far as another trying to ship before June 30th, they'll avoid being regulated by the EU's MICA, so they're probably under pressure to hit the Q2 deadline, but that would mean a very, very tight testnet or no testnet at all. And Patera says just test in production like we all do. But anyway, there was a talk back and forth about, you know, how Diva are going to try to launch, and for, you know, the Diva portion of Nektar, how it's going to try to launch. Nosho said that the last Houston audit is dated April 2024. Initially launch date was for late May, so there could be things pushed, and then yeah, there was talk about what MICA is, but the next update here was from Kotler saying that actually they're changing the amount of ETH that you need as collateral. So you'll likely need less than 1 ETH of collateral to be a Diva node operator, and that would of course be with DVT, distributed validated technology, which means that multiple people with, you know, less than 1 ETH together would get some ETH from the protocol and stake that. Presumably, we don't have the full model out yet, so I said maybe it'll be 8 times 0.5 plus 28 ETH from the protocol per validator. And then, of course, the smaller the bond and the more you're getting from the protocol, the better your reward potentially as a APR, because you're getting more of a commission from there's more ETH that you're getting the commission from and less ETH that you're putting forward yourself. So that's going to be interesting to see how they get the numbers out. And then there were people kind of talking about sibling it and like potentially attacking the validator set. So there was some really interesting talk here. Yeah, and then Kotler says that it'll just be a lower fixed amount of ETH per key share. So most probably something between 0.5 ETH and 1 ETH. And like this won't be sublinear bonding. So they won't have that system in place. It'll just be that. So yeah, this is some really interesting updates about Diva. It looks like the more pessimistic approach is that they will launch maybe in July or August. The more optimistic take, which might not be based in reality, is that they'll try to get out within a month. I don't know if that's going to work for them or not, but it's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.